Larping, aka live action role playing. It used to mean taking on a character role and playing it, whether that be an elf or a king. But today LARPing has lost all meaning. You mispronounce an anime character's name on the internet and you're gonna have at the very least 78 people calling you a LARPer. Oh, you used hide to configure Hyperland? Instead of manually configuring it for 4 hours and 48 minutes? Oh my god, holy LARP. LARPers are present in every facet of life. Most of the time, a LARPer will fall into one of the two main types of LARPing. For example, there is LARPing for financial benefit. You see this with the guys who rent out a Urus and then a penthouse on Airbnb to make a bunch of videos selling people on the idea of being rich.
So you want to make your first $1 million a month but don't know where to start? Well, trust me, I know how to help.
When in reality, all they have to their name is a rubber band and some pocket lint. These guys LARP being successful in the hopes that they will one day become successful by faking it. It is the very definition of faking it until you make it. The other type of LARPing is the worst kind of LARP. LARPing for social approval. Think performative male.
You should literally treat eating, fucking labia, pons, clitoris, every piece, even inner thigh, as this like
orchestral event.
I agree, man.
Think those people who fake having ADHD and autism and Tourette's on TikTok.
Wow, 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 wow. I want to talk, wow, wow, wow. I wanted to talk a little.
Think those guys who think Kali Linux is the best Linux distribution ever made. Anyways, enough of the philosophy lesson. I made a Linux distribution made for LARPers by a LARPer. Introducing Linux LARP. With Linux LARP, all the features a LARPer needs come built in by default. You have a Serial Experiments Lane wallpaper as the default wallpaper. And no, you don't need to understand the plot of Lane to LARP it. You just need the cool girl and the terminal. That's all you need. Oh, and the terminal? Well, it's not even a terminal. Every key you press spews out this sort of hacker output. Stuff like mounting the rootkit into the operating system and central controlling unit of the motherboard of the corporated mainframe server rack. Or routing dildo payload through the cloud quantum computer network connected to the relay server Obelisk. Or one of my favorites, jacking into Jackie from Cyberpunk 2077's butthole and relaying it through the proxy module in Larpy package manager. The best part about this terminal? Well, funny you should ask, because this terminal, it actually reads your mind and it determines exactly what you want to hack and automatically hacks it for you when you start typing. I mean, this is no exaggeration here. This is the most powerful hacking tool ever made. Ever. Also, the default browser is Google Chrome. This is because Google Chrome is the best browser for privacy, and it is the browser of choice for expert hackers. Everybody knows this. So if you want to install the best Linux distro for hacking ever made, there is a GitHub link in the description so you can try it out for yourself. But act quickly. With how powerful this is for hacking, I'm not going to be surprised if it gets taken down soon. There is both an ISO file and the source code if you want to modify anything or build it from source yourself. Now, how did I make this little shitty Debian-based Linux distro? Well, it's actually kind of easy, granted you don't make any custom packages like I did. It could literally be as simple as choosing all the packages you want from like the list of apt, then choosing a default wallpaper if you even want that, and then changing the fast fetch output to your distro logo and distro name. Now, just to be clear, I made a live install rather than an actual like real distro with its own installer and its own fucking package manager and its own fucking maintenance team and whatnot. I just felt like I had to say that before somebody comments, "Holy LARP." I'm not a LARPer, I'm not a So I'm just going to be showing my journey of how I made this minimal live distro, which doesn't have any persistence by default because I don't have any experience making a full, real, like non-meme distro yet. If there is demand, I may look into learning that and then making a video on that for all you beautiful people. So anyways, this is the journey that I went through to make Linux LARP. First, I made a Debian virtual machine and immediately looked up multiple tutorials on how to make your own distro because I've never done this before. Thank you, Gary Newell, for your tutorial. It helped me a lot. I then looked through a bunch of Serial Experiments Lane wallpapers and saved the one I wanted as a default wallpaper. I chose a Debian-based install with XFCE for the distro because Kali Linux is a Debian-based distro, and XFCE is the default desktop environment with Kali. The reason for this is because I feel as if Kali Linux is the most Larp to Linux distro ever. And a lot of people think Kali is like the end-all be-all of hacking, when in reality, you'll never end up using like 75% of the tools that it comes pre-packaged with, and a lot of the tools are actually completely outdated and shit today. Even on the newer versions of Kali too, this still persists. If you're like an actual, real, honest-to-God penetration tester, I would say that's like the only scenario that it makes sense to actually unironically use Kali. But either way, I still think it's way better to just do a minimal Debian install and install all the tools you need as you go instead of using Kali Linux. Anyways, I installed all of these packages with apt since the tutorial said that I'll need all of them, and who the hell would I be to question the wise, godly words of Gary Newell. Let me open this beer. So anyways, I wanted to make custom packages for this distro because I wanted the terminal to run a Python script that is just this like hacker type stuff that is inspired from that one hacker typer site. I think it's literally just called hackertyper.org. I also wanted it made in a way that it cannot be escaped with Control-C, which is like the standard way to abort a Python script. The way to escape this script and access the normal terminal will be a hard-coded secret escape sequence, which is just pressing escape 5 times. So this is where I had to veer off of Gary Newell's tutorial because he didn't cover making this. So I just kind of winged it with my Python experience, and every time I didn't know how to do anything or got stuck, I just looked up how to fix it. It's actually insane to me how many people out there just don't know that this is like an option that you could do. Like you could literally just look up anything. The internet is full of so much free information to the point that you can basically achieve and learn quite literally anything with enough persistence and enough effort and enough research. Like, you don't need schooling, you don't need classes, you don't need courses, you don't need shit. All you need is your fingers and a keyboard and a curiosity. Anyways, from my root directory of linux-larp, I made a package directory and then just followed the standard file system for structuring that I found online. I then had to make the metadata for the custom package, so I just looked up a template and changed the name and the depends that I needed. I then got to work on the actual script. I looked into a terminal emulator template, but I kind of just realized like very early on that I could just make this a Python script that runs on top of the normal bash terminal. So all I needed to do was make a script that achieves like this style of output instead of actually making a full terminal emulator, which would be really annoying. After a while, I got it assembled, but I made a lot of adjustments to the script because at first it was outputting way too fast, then way too slow. So I had to fix all the rates a bunch of times. Also, the warning message event I implemented was green and I wanted it to be red, but then I ran into an issue where the entire output would stay red once one warning message is displayed. So I had to reset it to green with this code, and just looking at it, I'm realizing I don't even need this reset to green shit. I could have just used green instead. Also, after I fixed the color thing, it started printing a new line every time one of like the events was outputted. So I had to fix that because it kind of didn't look good. And look at that, it looks pretty good now. I was gonna add more events and fix this entire issue where there could be like duplicate events displayed in the output. But then I realized I've already been doing this for hours and I just didn't care enough for a fucking joke distro that literally nobody is ever gonna use. Also, just a disclaimer, I did not code this all in Nano. I copy and pasted it from something else because it is actually cancer to code strictly in Nano if you're not just like making little fixes. And the script was probably the most time consuming part of this entire process, and after the actual script was made, I made it an application, then configured it to auto start upon boot, or upon login, sorry. Then for the post install script, you guessed it, I immediately looked up a template. I then looked up how to change the default wallpaper for a Linux distro that you're creating. I think there's multiple ways to do this, but the method I chose is just making a custom package that uses XML to set the wallpaper to the image I put inside of user share backgrounds Linux-Larp. After I actually built the ISO, I ran into an issue where the wallpaper wouldn't work, and it was because of this line being configured to monitor virtual 1 in my XML config. I was using Kimu to test the ISO, and it probably called the display something like monitor default or monitor VGA1. So instead of figuring out what the name for this was and fixing it in the static config in a way to where it's only gonna work for my specific setup, I ended up making a separate wallpaper script that basically like forces the wallpaper to be set after the user logs in with an auto start script. This way it doesn't matter what display or you're running or what the static config is, it's always going to work no matter what. I then made the ASCII logo so it shows up when you fast fetch. And it looks kind of bad, but I never claimed to be a goddamn artist, and I really suck with ASCII banners and ASCII art, or anything when it comes to fucking doing anything with that. I suck at it. So this little basic 2 L's will have to do. It's supposed to be a big L, which stands for Linux, and a smaller L, which is supposed to be LARP. So LL, Linux LARP, you know, you get it. I then made a very simple wrapper that calls the llogo.txt that I just made and prints it, and then I made some package metadata and that was it. At first it wouldn't display and the OS information was Debian instead of Linux LARP, and that is because I had both fastfetch and neofetch in the depends inside of the metadata. Neofetch is defunct and no one really uses that anymore, and having it here just broke everything for some reason. I don't know why, but I got rid of it and it worked. But then I didn't like how the logo appeared above everything and it's instead of like to the left like it's supposed to. And I don't know why printing it and making a new line, I didn't think of this when I was actually making the wrapper. I kind of just was like, oh, it's not working how I wanted it to? What the fuck? So I changed the wrapper from just printing and catting the logo, then making a new line, to making fastfetch actually render the logo itself, which was honestly even simpler to do than what I was originally trying to do. Then I made an extremely simple hacker style HTML file, which is like the home screen when you open your browser. I did this because Kali Linux does something like this when you open up your browser in Kali. So I just clobbered together this very shit HTML page. With all of the custom packages done, all I had to do now was make a default package list and a hook to install Google Chrome as the default browser instead of Firefox. I really had to jump through like a lot of hoops here and waste a lot of time, because if I just used Firefox, it would have been as simple as just adding a single line that says Firefox in the package list. But Chrome isn't on apt, so I had to make this entire hook that installs Google Chrome so it could be the default browser. After all of that, all I had to do was build the ISO file, and at first I ran into some issues because some packages had no installation candidates, so then the ISO wouldn't be generated, but after just removing them, it built fine and I was done. This was not actually as hard as I thought it was gonna be, it was just very time consuming. I mean, this was the time when I started, and then this was the time when I finished. But all in all, it was pretty fun, and here is my live reaction on my first like full run through and test of this. I had a lot of fun making this. If you want to try out Linux LARP for yourself and get to LARPing harder than you've ever LARPed before, the GitHub is in the description. Also, if anyone wants to fork it and take it further, go right on ahead. This was just a one-off joke to me. But I feel like this joke can be taken way further if somebody wants to actually take up the mantle and crown of maintaining Linux LARP. If you want me to make an actual in-depth tutorial of how I made this instead of just skimming over everything in a very like fast manner, let me know. I can show the process in a slower and more in-depth way. I just kind of skimmed over it for the sake of keeping the video entertaining for people who don't really care as much about all the wet work that went into all of this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for LARPing. thank you to our channel members who are scrolling on screen now and who make the continuation of this content possible. You guys are the shining beam in my life. Become a channel member if you want to also become a shining beam in my life, and visit the description to see other ways to support the channel. Hype the video, comment the video, like the video, fucking subscribe the video. Until next LARP, I'll see you. Thank you.